Good morning, lady bosses. Welcome to our Tuesday morning live. Like always, I'll wait a minute or so till some people jump on. Not looking at a beautifully sunny day today. It's kind of rainy, but man, our weather's been good, so I am not complaining. And for things to be so gorgeous, we have to have some rain anyway, right? So on that note, let me swipe over so I can see who's here. Melissa's here. Good morning, Melissa. Melissa, my beast of a girlfriend. Training for a 100-mile bike ride coming up really soon. Like, holy cow. You rock, girlfriend. Okay, let's see. I don't have a big clock in front of me, so I think I'll wait till one more person jumps on and then I'll start. And I'll just like stare at the screen until the number changes. This one won't apply to everybody though, because if you don't have a business or something that you need to promote, maybe networking is not something you even have to think about. So, okay, here we go. Sheila, good morning. Okay, let's get started. So networking, we're going to talk about networking today. And this is the presentation I did for our big polka dot event last week. Why do you need to network? Okay, you need to network because for whatever you're doing, whether you have a business you need to grow or you have a nonprofit you're representing, whatever you're doing, if you need to grow your customer base or your client base, you need to network. And yes, you can do a lot of that on social media. That's awesome. But a lot of people like hit a brick wall and need to go the next step. So let's talk about it a little bit. You need to do it because number one, you've run out of friends and family, right? You can't call one more relative and ask them to buy your product or to jump on your team or whatever. And maybe you've used social media, but maybe, like I said, you just feel like you've hit a wall and you need to go a little further and you need to get out and actually start meeting people face to face. So, I mean, that happened to me 8 years ago when I started my health coaching practice. I started out on fire on Facebook and then all of a sudden, I mean, that was before we had all the different social media strategies in place that we have today. So it's like, where do I go now? What do I do? I mean, back then even, and I grew up in corporate America, there was no such thing as networking groups. You know, there were cocktail parties at the end of the day, lots of times, but there was no networking really formally the way there is today. So I didn't know where to go, and friends kind of steered me the right way. And since then, I've done a heck of a lot of networking. So I'm going to share with you what I've learned through networking and how you can really make it work for you. The reason a lot of women don't do it is because they're really afraid. So we're going to just make it a whole lot easier and a whole lot less fearful. So in my observation, I see three different kinds of women when it comes to networking. I see women who rock networking, women who know just where to go, women who have great success in growing their client base by networking. Number one. Number two, I see the networking queens who are at every single event that exists, and they're in every networking group. No matter where you go, you see them. And I call them the queens because if I'm somewhere and we want to know what's going on, it's like, ask Sally, because if anything's going on this week, she knows about it. However, in this category, I'm putting the networking queens who go everywhere, but have absolutely no success from their networking. So you can do it, but you can do it wrong and then not have any, not yield any fruit from it. So that's it. And then number three, the women who haven't done it at all. And I know from talking to a lot of you and a lot of other women I know that you're scared of it because you don't know where to start. You don't know what to do when you get there. And so for that reason, boy, that makes me want to say, for that reason, you've been chopped. Wow. Just the way that the inflection that came out with. Okay. Sorry. Really digress there. Anyway, for that reason, you are not even dipping your toe in the pool of networking because you're afraid or you just don't know what to do. Forget not even dipping your toe in. You're not going anywhere near the damn pool, right? Because you just don't know what to do. So listen, a lot of making this more comfortable is breaking down the fear by giving you a game plan. If you have some good structure, some good ideas for where to go, what to do when you get there, then it's going to break it down. You're going to be less afraid and you might actually learn to like it. So stick with me. Let's talk about this. So number one, most important before you even think about going to networking you need to break down who your target audience is, right? If you're selling Mary Kay, is the best group for you to join really going to be the Chamber of Commerce? You know, where you've got B2B businesses, you've got all your local bankers and lawyers, and you've got real estate agents, and you have entrepreneurs and you have small business owners, but is that the place to be if you're selling Mary Kay? Do you really want to spend your money and time on the Chamber of Commerce? You know, you have to find your target audience, because otherwise you're wasting your money and you're wasting your time. And none of us can afford to waste either one of those things. So let's figure out who your target audience is. And if you don't know who that is, grab a few friends, a few trusted friends who just, you know, are really willing to give you honest advice and criticism, and just sit and say, listen, help me figure this out. Because listen, with my health coaching practice 8 years ago, if somebody asked me who my target audience was, it'd be like, everybody. Because, you know, 80% of Americans are overweight or obese. Probably 90% of Americans could be living a healthier lifestyle. So like everybody. But you know what? I had to break it down a little more. Like who is my audience as far as who's going to really hear my voice? Who's going to really be drawn to me, where I can talk and they're really going to listen and say, oh, okay, let's talk about this. Good morning, Michelle. Good morning, Jane. Good morning, everybody. I haven't been saying hello. But anyway, figure out who your target audience is. Because like I said, you know, you're not going to be at the Chamber of Commerce if you're selling Mary Kay. You can, but that's just not the most ideal place to be. Or if you provide a service that's only for women, then look for women's networking groups. And yes, if you want a women's networking group, talk to me. I know the best. But anyway, obviously, you don't want to waste your time where you go, and it's very male-oriented and has a lot of men if you're only selling to women. Okay, so think about who your audience is and where you're going to find them. That's number one. Now, we're going to talk about two different ways to network. First thing we're going to talk about is networking events. Now, this is where, you know, some of you may be able to network at the Chamber of Commerce. This is great. Every now and then, like the Chamber of Commerce or your local Rotary Club or some of your local networking groups will have a big mixer that's open to the public for you to go and just sort of test the waters and check them out. So, you know, or just a business card exchange you hear about and like, well, let me check that out and go meet people. So this is the kind of event we're talking about. Now that can be really scary because, well, I'm an introvert, so I really don't like walking into a room of 100 or 200 people that I don't know. But I know a lot of extroverts who feel the same way. Very hard to walk into that kind of room and have any feel for where you're going to go, who you're going to talk to, like, oh crap. And I didn't think about it till the other day, but honestly, I really think that I went to one once and I either didn't even get out of the car or I walked in and I walked right out and left. So that's not an easy thing to do. Oh, wow. Yeah. Jane's saying her target audience is changing. And yeah, COVID, folks, is changing everything. So definitely that's something to think about. So based on going to these networking events, my best advice is go with a friend, because then you won't be scared to walk in the room. You've got the security of somebody to be with, but make sure your wingman, your wing lady is somebody who's going to push you out of the nest. Because if you get there and you just hang with your girlfriend all night, you could have done that and just gone and grabbed a cup of coffee with her. You have totally wasted that opportunity to meet who knows how many new people. So have a wingman. And that happened to me once. I went to a networking event and thought, you know, that feeling when you walk in. But I saw a girlfriend of mine across the room and she's an introvert too. And oh man, we were like magnets. And we hung and we talked for 5 or 10 minutes. And then she graciously said, but like not, you know, not being gentle about it, just like, okay, this isn't why we're here. Go away, go talk to people. And that was just what I needed because I wouldn't have done it otherwise. So find a friend to go with and make sure you commit to each other that you're going to walk away from each other and do what you're there to do. Good morning, Tracy. Okay, so that's number one. So now, now you've broken loose. Now, who do you go talk to? So you can look around the room. If you see somebody standing alone, that's a great opportunity to go talk to somebody who's just waiting to talk to somebody. let me give you some advice if you're on the other side of things. If you're in that room and you're already standing in a small group of people talking, make sure that group of people is not forming a circle. Make sure you always form a U shape so that you give opportunity for people to come into your group. When you've got a closed circle, you're not being welcoming to anybody else in the room who might want to come and join your group. And everybody's there to network, so we should all be there, open to the opportunity of talking to one another. So that's number one. So if you see a group and there's an opening, obviously that makes it so much easier. If you don't see a group with an opening, then boy, you just have to go and just like bust your way in. And you can do it easily. Say, hey, do you guys mind if I join you? I'm here to meet some new people and I'd love to join your conversation if that's okay. Nobody's going to say no. Lindsay, good morning. If someone could lead me to more of these kinds of events, yes. Okay. Lindsay, I'll tell you what, on Facebook, just go to events and it'll say events happening in your area. And while a lot of them are social, some of them are formal networking groups, but any event is going to lead you to people you don't know yet. So use some of these principles to learn how to go up and talk to people you don't know yet. And that's a good place to start. Okay, so seek out people standing alone. Excuse me. Listen more than you talk. 2 ears, 1 mouth. We were made that way for a reason. When you're meeting new people, I don't care if it's networking or you just meet somebody at a party, if you listen more than you talk, they're going to go away with a good feeling that somebody really cared enough to take some time and get to know them a little bit. Because how often do we listen to just, formulate what we're going to say next? We listen to respond. We don't listen to get to know someone and to understand. So let's make sure you really take time to get to know people when you're networking. That's going to make a big impression on them. Because when people are networking, so many people there are so anxious to run around and hand you a business card and tell you what they do and say, let's make it sorry, I kicked my stand. Let's make an appointment to get together so I can tell you more about my business, yada, yada. Boy, talk about a hit and run, and that's not going to turn anybody on. So make it a point to really get to know people and listen to them. That's going to make an impression and make you stand out. Now, while you're talking to them, you want to listen, but what do you say? So I have this acronym that somebody taught at a convention I was at a few years ago, and I never forgot it. It is the best thing I ever heard. This will apply in networking. This will apply anytime you're meeting someone new. It really helps if you're talking to somebody who's not an easy conversationalist and you don't have an easy conversation. It'll really help you to keep the conversation going. The acronym is FORD, like the car manufacturer Ford. And here's what it is. F, ask them about their family. And every now and then you'll ask somebody and they'll say, I'm married. You'll say, do you have kids? No, I don't have kids. And this happened with me once. And I said, well, do you have any fur babies? And she lit up. Because I think if people talk to you and maybe you're not married, maybe you don't have kids, maybe you don't have siblings and you're really pretty much alone, people don't know what to say. And I think she was so shocked because I think she fell into that situation a lot. And she couldn't stop thanking me for asking her about her fur babies. So, people's family is what it is to them. Their family might be their close girlfriends. Maybe that's what they have. But that's number one. Ask them about family and be open-minded about it. Number 2, the O is occupation. So what do you do for a living? Well, maybe they don't have a job. Maybe I'm retired. Okay, tell me what retirement looks like. What does your typical day look like? Are you enjoying some new hobbies or whatever? Tell me what retirement looks like for you. Maybe they're a stay-at-home mom and that's like the toughest job I think I've ever done. When I went back to work after my kids were in school, going back to work was like a vacation in comparison. So stay-at-home mom, oh my gosh, good for you. Tell me about your day. What are some of your biggest challenges? But learn to ask questions. So that's number 2, occupation. Number 3 is recreation. What do you like to do in your spare time? Maybe you don't have spare time. Okay, where do you like to go on vacation? What's your favorite vacation spot? Tell me about that. Number 4, the D is for dream. So what are your dreams? Tell me, what's the top thing on your bucket list? If time and money were not in the way and you had the time tomorrow, what's the number 1 thing on your bucket list? Okay, so these are things that are great conversation starters. and really show people you care about them. You're really asking them questions to get to know them. And listen, the know, like, and trust factor is the only way people will do business with you. And that's not going to happen until you build a relationship with them, because the like and trust comes after the know. If they don't know you, how can they ever learn to like and trust you? So great first beginning, a great start is to really make them feel like you care about them, right? Okay, so that's forward. So now it's going to turn around. At the end of that little bit of the conversation, I don't think there's a human being in the world who's not going to say next, okay, tell me about you. Now you could run down the forward in your own head and say that too, but just go prepared for what you're going to talk about. So when people ask you, so tell me what you do, come up with a clever tagline, or something people love to hear is success stories. You know, I'm in health and wellness. Well, I could just say, well, I'm a health coach and I help people lose weight and get healthy and make good lifestyle choices and, you know, really change their lifestyle and yada, yada. You know, no, I'm going to sound like Charlie Brown's teacher. Like, that's going to be so boring. But if I say that more concisely and say, oh my gosh, one of the girls, one of our local coaches lives in Lancaster, and this girl lost 350 pounds in less than 2 years. And she's in her 20s and she's got a whole life she never thought she'd experience. That they're going to remember. So have some success stories, have some, you know, fun little things you can say, or just like a funny tagline. Come up with something funny if you want, and be prepared for some things people might say to you. For an example, the networking meeting that I went to, the event that I went to where my girlfriend pushed me out of the nest, I saw a man standing alone. So I went over and spoke to him. And so after I asked him about himself and he said, what do you do? I said, well, I'm a certified health coach. I said, I help people lose weight and whatever I said. And he said, oh, he said, so you came over to talk to me because you think I'm fat. And yeah, you're going to get that. And I was ready for him though. And I said, no, I said, I came over to talk to you because you know 500 people I don't know. I said, and if you're talking to somebody tomorrow who's frustrated because nothing they try seems to be working, I said, I'm hoping you'll think of me and say, you know what? I met this woman last night and I'm pretty intrigued by what she does and maybe she can help. That's why I came over to talk to you. So be ready with some responses. And listen, this brings up another good point. In the health coaching world, I hear some of the health coaches refer to it as fluffy hunting. We don't seek out, if my business is to help people lose weight, I do not seek out people who look like they need to lose weight. Because you know what? As soon as you look for people who you think need what you have, okay, maybe you see somebody who never wears makeup and you're a Mary Kay sales rep. I don't know why I keep using Mary Kay so much, but you know, you think, oh my God, they need my makeup. Don't be looking for people who you think need what you're selling. Because guess what? I could walk up to the most fit, trim, muscular, healthy looking woman in the room, and not until I get into a conversation with her do I know that she's got a husband who's just been diagnosed to be type 2 diabetes, and he's severely overweight and nothing he's ever tried has worked, and they're frustrated beyond and don't know what to do. So don't ever underestimate the potential of second, third, and fourth generation referrals and leads. Okay, so you don't know. So seek out people that you just want to get to know a little bit better. Because when you get to know people and they learn to know, like, and trust you, and you become top of mind to them, then anytime they hear anybody talking about whatever it is you do, they're going to think of you and say, you need to talk to Donna. Okay, so don't minimize the power of that. Okay, that's really important. So finally, at a networking event, find a reason to follow up. Because if you don't find a handful of people that you are determined to follow up with and get to know a little bit better, then you've totally wasted your time being there. Because there is no reason, hang on, my phone's ringing there. Sorry. 2 weeks later, they're not going to remember you. No matter how clever your tagline was, they might think, yeah, I did meet a girl once who did this, but I have no idea who she was. Okay? You've totally wasted your time and your money by even going if you're not going to follow up. And follow up is the hardest part for most people. So don't make it overwhelming. Don't go home with 20 business cards saying, I'm going to call 20 people. Go home committed to maybe 3 or 5 over the next month that I'm going to connect with them. I'm going to call them and see if they want to get a cup of coffee and just get to know them more, because I liked them. They clicked. We really clicked, and yeah, just want to build a relationship with them. So do that. Okay, now that's my spiel on networking events. Now we're going to talk about networking groups. And these are groups that you usually join paying an annual fee, and they have meetings on a regular basis. Could be once a week, could be once a month. So this is a little bit different. Now, again, you're going to want to dig around, talk to people, ask questions, but find the groups that have the kind of audience you're looking for. Most groups will let you visit once, twice, even 3 times sometimes before you have to commit to membership. But check them out. Make sure you're finding a good spot. Now, listen, the important thing to think about when you're looking at this is how often do they meet? If a networking group meets every week and you're going every week, you're going to have a strong impact in staying top of mind with those people. Because when they see you every week and hear from you every week, they're not forgetting about you for those 7 days in between. If you go to a meeting on Tuesday and on Friday, somebody says, oh my gosh, I've got to lose 50 pounds. I don't know what to do. Nothing works for me anymore. If it's only 3 days ago they saw you, they're going to say, you need to talk to Donna. Donna can help you. I'm really sure. Just talk to her and see if she can help you. If they haven't seen you in a month, they're not going to remember who you are at all. But here's what you can do. If you find a group that meets once a month, and this women's group I'm in meets once a month, but we put a huge emphasis on making sure we connect multiple times a month. We have a nighttime social once a month. We have a coffee connect once a month. Not to mention all the times that women connect one-on-one in between. So you have to talk to people more than once a month if they're going to remember who you are. Because if they're not going to remember who you are, then you've just wasted your time. You've wasted your time. You've wasted your money because you're not branding yourself well enough. Nobody's remembering you. So it's really important to see how often the group meets. And if it's a group you feel comfortable with, that you know, like, yeah, we're going to be connecting a whole lot more often than this. Very important. Another piece of advice, if you're in a networking group, is serve in some sort of a leadership position. Now, this will help everybody. It will really help you if you're an introvert, because my introverted nature, believe me, there have been a million Tuesday mornings in the last 8 years that I could have hit my snooze button 3 times and decided to just bag it and say, I'll go next week. I had to take this week off. I'm tired and I'll be there next week. But if you're in leadership, you have to show up. So it forces you to show up. That's number 1. But number 2, if you're in leadership, you might be seeing these people every week, but you have raised your visibility a whole other level. Because when you're a leader, people see you even more. Your presence is more pronounced, and you're really going to be top of mind with them if an opportunity comes up for them to refer you. So, and people want to connect with you when you're a leader. More people want to connect and get to know you. So it's going to benefit you in your business if you take some kind of a position in leadership. And finally, when I talk about different things to join too, get involved in some kind of service. For me, that was the Rotary. Maybe there are ways you can get involved in service in your church. There's so many places you can get involved in service. But I joined the Rotary, I don't even know, 5 or 6 years ago now. Excuse me. Simply because I knew I wanted to give back and get involved in my community, in really helping my community. And my thought process always was, I really want to do that. But, someday when I'm not so busy, well, guess what? Here I am on Social Security, and I'm busier than I've ever been in my whole life. So, 5 years ago, I thought, what? I'm never going to not be busy. So if it's important, you do it and you find time to do it. And sure enough, I did. But let me tell you something. When you're in an organization and you're working side by side with people who are there to serve, do you know how quickly you jump that hurdle of know, like, and trust? Because people who serve and want to give of themselves to help other people, are people you just trust a whole lot more quickly than people who are just there to hand you a business card or sell you a car or whatever, right? So I had no intention of networking at Rotary. My only intention was to serve my community. But I probably got more of my business through Rotary than anywhere else. We have about 100 people in our club, and I cannot sit at a table at a Rotary meeting without a handful of people who've been my clients, because you break down that know, like, and trust factor so much more quickly. Plus, I see them either weekly or every other week, and we really have become a family. So so don't underestimate the power of working in that kind of a group either. And then 2 more things and we'll wrap up. This has nothing to do with the meetings, but this has to do with networking. Ask for connections. Ask for introductions. If there's somebody that you would really like to collaborate with, I'm in health and wellness. Maybe I would really like to collaborate with a personal trainer, but I know of a couple, but I really don't know anybody personally. But ask your friends, do you know a personal trainer that you could introduce me to? Because when you're introduced to someone, you've gotten a way bigger foot in the door than if you just call on somebody cold. Because if they trust their friend and their friend is introducing you, then that trust is automatically extended to you. So don't be afraid to ask for introductions to the people that you want to collaborate with. Good morning, Anna Maria. So anyway, ask for introductions. It could take you places you never dreamed of, but the power of the introduction is way more than you just cold calling and trying to find people on your own. And then finally, and this is most important in networking, remember you're playing the long game. I was listening to a podcast the other day and heard this great analogy. You're playing chess, not checkers. Remember that. People go to networking groups, and if I had a nickel for every time I heard somebody say, you know what, this group isn't for me. I've been here for 3 meetings and haven't gotten any business. Some people, I've been here a year and haven't gotten any business. It doesn't happen fast. How long does it take to build a relationship? I mean, you might walk in a room and be selling a product everybody's been looking for and like, oh my gosh, maybe you're a Pampered Chef consultant, and you walk in the room and there are 10 people in the room saying, oh my gosh, I don't know anybody who sells it and there's so many things I need. That happens sometimes. That doesn't happen most of the time. And think about different industries people are in. If you're a realtor and you're in a group, you could be in that group for a year, but there's a possibility in a year that nobody in that group bought or sold a house or even knew anybody who didn't already maybe have a good friend they deal with. So some opportunities aren't going to come up as often or as quickly. So you are playing the long game. You are building relationships with people. That's why you're there. You're not there to sell. You're there to build relationships, because if you build the right kinds of relationships, you will be top of mind. And when somebody's ready to sell their house, right, Anna Maria, they will think about you. They won't think about anybody else because you're the person who's going to come to mind. So you're playing the long game. You're playing chess, not checkers. So that's it. That is what I have on networking. And, find the ones that work, and seriously, be careful of joining too many, because I got so excited about networking in the very beginning that I joined way too many groups. And 3 of the groups I was in, I bet 60% of the people in those groups were in all of those 3 groups. So I really wasn't extending myself to a whole lot of new people. I was just seeing some of the same people 3 times a week, which was kind of crazy because it got to the point that I had no time left over to actually do my business. So you really have to have time to do the work too. Networking is really important, but then you have to have time to follow up, time to do your job. So just be selective, be smart, find your audience, and listen, I don't know, I think it's going to post today, but all this stuff I did for a handout when I did the presentation last week for the polka dots. And so that will be posted today in the group. So you'll have a handout that highlights all the things we talked about. So save that, and it'll remind you, use Ford, use a lot of the stuff in there, really, really works. So that is it. Thanks for spending Tuesday morning together. I will see you all next week. Have a great day.